Have you ever wanted a hardcore 4x4? For that, you're probably looking at something like a Bronco newly launched in the market or even the Wrangler. But both of those vehicles, unfortunately, 5 million pesos there or thereabouts. But what if I told you you can have that kind of performance and a diesel for something that's half the price? This is the BAIC B40 Ragnar. Hey everyone, Vince here from AutoIndustriya, and what I've got for you today is the BAIC B40 Ragnar, at least here in the Philippine market. In China, you would know this as the Beijing BJ40L, the first generation. L meaning long wheelbase because this is a 5-door version, and also it's a first generation because there's a newer generation model which has lines that are a bit more curved than this one. So where does this come from? I mean, why is there so many names for this vehicle? Well, BAIC and Beijing Auto and that manufacturer is not very shy about marketing their vehicles as different names depending on the market. They just rename it to suit the market, their partners and all that. And in the Philippines, they're going with the BAIC brand with B40 as the model name. This is one of those 4x4s that a lot of us really like in this market. So yes, very rugged, very robust all around in the color and all that. It does have a very upright windscreen compared to a lot of vehicles we normally get used to now. Also, very tall side steps. The ground clearance, they're quoting around 220 millimeters, but I think it's quite a bit higher than that. They're usually measuring from the lowest point of the vehicle, which is probably the rear differential. We'll show you that in a bit. So yes, 5-seater there, 2 kids sit in the front, 3 in the back, and no third row in this one because, as you'll see later, it's pretty much a nice squared off box over in the back of this one. Looks like it's going to be really, really sunny, or is it really gonna rain? You know what? Let's get under the cover so we can show you more on the details on the B40. I do like the OD green, military green color they have going on with the B40. It just looks cool. And you can see there the badging, by the way, in China, it's still known as BJ40. Hence, they actually haven't removed the J from that yet. But you can see very classic 4x4 look, very high up. It's got a very good departure angle. I think it's 31 degrees. It even has the recovery points there, painted in bright red. Your spare tire for the 17 inches matches perfectly with everything mounted right there. Now, to open this, first, you pull this out because if you notice, it's actually a split tailgate. And then you flip this up, which is, has nice dampers right there. This one doesn't seem to be bolted on very well, but still looks pretty good overall. In terms of space, you have about 38 inches in terms of length, 40 inches in width, and about, I think, 35 inches in height over here. We'll show you the space later on in the conversions for metric. But you can actually fold and tumble this. So to fold this, pull this down, and then you pull a little, I think, strap here. When you pull that strap, you can lift it up. It's a bit heavy. So that is your extended version. It goes to about 55 inches from here to around there. Nice and useful. You can even do let's say if you want to close the rear and have that open, you can if you really want to. But still gives you that versatility. If ever you need to do that, let's say you have, I don't know, 8-foot boards or planks or whatever you want to carry, you can do so easily with this. But the most important part about the B40 is when you look underneath. So let's get right up there. You can see it has solid axles here in the back. And it's connected by a sway bar. If you pop on over to the other side, you'll see the sway bar, which is, it can easily be disconnected to give you more articulation if you so need when you're going off-road. By the way, check out the rear disc brakes of this one, really nice and bright red. But the front suspension, this is very much an independent suspension, so it kind of gives you a balance of both worlds. But now it brings us to the engine. Now the engine of this one is listed as a 2-liter turbo diesel engine. It's very classically made because this is a box ladder frame chassis kind of thing. They're very much a classic body on frame there going on. You can see the intake right here, the inlet is right up here. This is about 110 cm off the ground. So 800 millimeters, I measured it, it's right about here. So I think it probably, maybe go up to maybe 900 water weighting if you really need to. Your filter is here. You have your electronics mounted way up there, including the battery. I think you can put a snorkel here very, very easily. But still, it's a big hood, and you can actually, I think you can prop it up on the windshield if you so wish, but why would you really need to unless you're taking out the engine for whatever servicing you may need. In terms of transmissions, this one does have an automatic, and you get 2 high, 4 high, and 4 low. We'll show you how all that works when we go inside, right about now. The first thing to keep in mind when you step into a B40 is that it's meant to be a 4x4, an off-roader, rather than a full-on family crossover. It's not a family crossover by any stretch of the imagination. So the way you sit here in the back, it's very classic 4x4 truck, very Jeep. So the seats, it is nice and comfortable in terms of the cushioning. You do have individual headrests and a wide center armrest with 2 cup holders. But you sit here, you kind of got a theater view of the road ahead, if that's actually your thing. And when it comes to the controls, you have your power windows here, door handle here, a light here. There's no speakers here like in some of the other versions that we've tried of other manufacturers. You do have handles here, depending on what you want to use. But what's great here is that this is actually a convertible, and this part can actually be removed if you want to put the time and effort to take it off, and if you have somewhere to store this whole canopy thing here in the back. Anyways, let's check out what's going on in front. Oh, before anything, you got 2 AC vents and a 220 volt outlet. We know the B40 takes quite a bit of inspiration from the Wrangler, but that doesn't mean they can't level it up in terms of the way the interior is. And you look at the interior of this, it does look quite nice. You got silver trim here, chrome trim a bit here. They have the BAIC logo here on the horn button, but they also mimic it with the AC vents, which I think is a nice touch. And by the way, you can point that at you, or you can close it using the ring outside. Pretty nice. But they really updated it when it comes to a lot of the materials, like the way they did here, the plastic here, nice and textured. You got a soft touch material up here, which again, unexpected in this vehicle. And then you've got all kinds of controls. But the eyes really are drawn to the digital screens in front of you. You have one here, which is actually nice and wide, which gives you all kinds of displays like speed, RPM, and then you also have your kilometer, your angle, and all that stuff, and your compass right here built in, and your altimeter right up there. Pretty nice stuff, and it displays all kinds of fuel economy, all that stuff that you really need. And then you have this screen here. Unfortunately, it doesn't get Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. It does have the Carbit link, but the connectivity, even with my phone, with my what am I using now? Xiaomi. I used to use a Huawei, but both of those phones are having trouble to connect here. So unfortunately, even with the Chinese version of the app, having trouble there. But you do have the Bluetooth and all that. Sound quality, not so great. But what else can we see around here? You have all the features you can control in your vehicle. Headlight delay, the driving assist features right there. You can do all that. By the way, the sensors of this are only in the back, as you can see right here. It doesn't have a 360 camera. It does have a reverse camera with the guidelines there, but it's not as modern as some of the ones we've seen in from other bike models. Some of the other ones are really nice and clear. This one could be better. The ambient lighting, you can adjust it all there if you want. Your climate control can also be adjusted here. You can also use the ring here to make the blower stronger or not. Your recirculate, all that stuff. It's a dual zone, by the way, and it has the vents here in the back. Now, for the controls, you've got the transmission control right here. It's a simple T-bar shifter, but it returns to the middle. So to put it into reverse, there. Put it into drive, there. To put it into neutral, right there, which is going to be key for when you have to start using your 4x4 system. By the way, you also control the system from this command here, but I'd rather just use the touchscreen because it makes life a lot easier. Seat heaters here, compartment here, which you can use for storage, and your USB port and your aux in port are all right there. Auto brake hold over here. Now, to the 4x4 controls. If you notice, it's not here. it's right up here. And you can see here, 2 high, 4 low, and your locking differential for the rear is right here. But if you notice, there's another one right here. That's for the front. So you can lock both the front and the rear of this vehicle. So let's try that now. First, you pop it into 4 high, right? It's making the adjustment. And in typical 4x4 fashion, to go into 4 low, you have to be in neutral. So pop it into neutral. It's making the adjustment to 4 low. You can see there it's blinking. It has now engaged. The icon there shows that both front and rear are now locked, and turning is going to be very, very hard. We recommend, of course, turning it all off if you're going to drive it on the road. Steering wheel is a bit big, actually. I would have wanted a smaller steering wheel, maybe something, a bit simpler, but it's a bit big. It feels a bit too sporty for something like this, which is, unusual. And then you have buttons on the left and on the right. For your cruise controls on the left side, it's not the adaptive kind, I think. And then you have your audio controls right here. On the door, you do have controls for your power windows. And mind you, the doors on this one are removable. So, like the Jeeps and the Wranglers, even up to now, you can unbolt those doors if you want to go for a full-on 4x4 experience. But also the roof. Like I mentioned earlier, the rear part, the canopy, can be removed, but so can the front. I've taken the liberty of unlocking this because it's all a manual thing. You know what? Thank God I've got assistance right here. I've got Zach. Zach, pick that up, move it. There you go. Good job, kid. But you can also remove the one here on the passenger side. So, one more time. Come on, Zach. You can do it. Yeah, there you go. Open top motoring. And if you want to be able to use to have open top for the back, you can also do that. And by the way, if you notice, this one does have a roll cage built in, just like some of the others from the US. Yeah, so you can see the real appeal of something like this if you're the type that likes to go off-roading. And once you pop open the doors as well, or remove the doors, well, you can also enjoy that kind of thing if you want to take it out. But keep in mind, you are going to be doing quite a bit more cleaning if you go open top like this. Zach, pakibalik nga lahat, please. Thank you. You know, the weather has been really tricky lately. So much so that I wish I got the B40 a couple of days ago, because there was a storm, the first storm of the year, just a few days ago, and this would have been really useful, if there was a flooding that I encountered, which thankfully I didn't encounter too much flooding or even at all. Now, driving it around, what can I say? Well, you do have a very high seating position. So you get a good view of everything around you, but just like with the Wrangler and all the other Jeeps that we've driven before, even the Toyota BJ40, you do kind of have to be wary about the fenders because they are a bit more extended than normal. So you have to be wary about, particularly on the far right side, but it's still very, very manageable, all things considered. But I do like the height. I do like the seating position. I do like the visibility around me that I get. But yes, could be some improvements when it comes to, let's say, sensors, because this one only has sensors in the back and no camera on the right side, but still, all well and good. I love the old school feel of it. That I think is where the charm of the B40 is. The overall old school feel of the vehicle, even though when you step inside, there are quite a few nice amenities all around. They really leveled it up from becoming, let's say, just another Jeep clone to something kind of really their own. Perhaps what surprised me the most about the vehicle, or at least maybe it shouldn't have surprised me, is the fuel economy. Now, around town, we're getting around 11.5 kilometers per liter on diesel, which is rather good. I mean, this is a very similar engine to the one in the Photon. Actually, the engine does say Photon, the turbo part. So the fuel economy is outstanding on this one, averaging around 11.5 kilometers per liter in city traffic. On the highway, you're closer to around 17, depending on how you drive, of course. I like the torque. I like the way the transmission behaves. You will have to bear with a bit more bouncing around because, again, old school style chassis, So that is a trade-off there, especially with the solid axle in the back. You will feel a bit more of the road. But where that comes in really is when it comes to the robustness of it all. Now, we don't have time to do off-roading actually this week because we was doing one shoot and one event after another. But we did take it around our little warehouse. We had a bit of fun, mounting all the curbs in the warehouse. Some of those pretty high, by the way. And locking the front and rear diffs just makes it so much easier. They didn't go for the solid axle in the front, but still it's managing itself very well. And if you take this on the trail, it's just going to be a benefit to have the diesel as well as, the front and rear locking differentials. You're going to have a blast with this. The only thing that I would probably want changed, the tires. The tires are actually okay, but maybe the wheel design and maybe some, better tires from a brand that I recognize, maybe something else. There's plenty of them out there, maybe mud terrain or better all-terrain ones. Now for some points to improve. Honestly, I'm not finding too many. Most of the things that I notice, you kind of already accept in a vehicle like this. So, like, again, the ride and all that. But maybe some of the plastics here could be better, like the bezel for the 4A, for the 2 high, 4 high, 4 low. The bezels for the ACs, a couple of the switches. Nothing really major that, sticks out in a big way. So, the car seems very well built. One thing I do have to point out, when you close the doors on this, you have to close it with quite a bit of force. And you have to, because it's kind of really pushing back on the weather strips of this. So keep that in mind. Sometimes you end up, you think you slammed it, but not really. So you have to really, jam it in there. Another thing, the speakers. The speakers on this are, no good. Just like no matter how we adjust it, the sound is just tinny and all that. And lastly, good point. I was able to get the QD link working. I do want Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, at least for me. But at least I got the QD link working just fine. So anyways, is this going to be the right vehicle for you? Well, let's go back to the warehouse and discuss that bit. So the BAIC B40, you know what? I really like it. Now, it's not going to be one of those things that we're going to look for refinement and all that, because this is very much a hardcore truck-based 4x4, and it's really enjoyable the way it is. There are some things we want improved, like when it comes to the plastics inside, some of the materials. The build quality is actually quite okay, but it's really a few more things that we can kind of refine along the way when it comes to a lot of the little things, but nothing really major. If you're looking for something that can really go out into the woods and get you through it, this actually works really well, especially with the front and rear lockers. Makes it so much easier if you're the type that likes to, get out into the jungle, chop down some bush, and you can power through it with your B40. I think it can really do that. But the best part about it is that compared to, let's say, the Wranglers, the Broncos, and all that, it's half the price. Like, you're looking at $2.5 million for this vehicle. Compared to those, you can really do a lot with this thing once you start modifying it. But of course, this vehicle is not going to be for everyone, and if you're one of those types, well, you can always just debadge it and enjoy it as is. Anyways, let me know what you think about the B40 in the comments below. Is it worth it? Does it have potential? Let us know. This is Vince of AutoIndustriya.com, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this useful.